All right, there we go. So I will simply say good afternoon, guys. Today is April 26, 2022, and we are blessed to be able to have Karen Kage, who is the CEO of Realcomp 2 Unlimited. I think I've got all of that right, straight across there. And I've asked Karen to come on because there's been some we'll call it changes. She'll give you the proper language, but directives from NAR to realtor boards as to what they can and cannot do, what they must. And so she's going to share that with us. Along with that, she's going to open us up with some statistics about what's going on in the market itself. And then we'll finish with the Q&A. So if you have any questions that you're looking to have answered or addressed, boy, have we got the right person on. So Karen Kage, it's all yours.
Thanks. Thank you. And good afternoon, everyone. It's a great opportunity. I always appreciate the opportunity to speak with as many agents as I can all in one place. So that's very beneficial for us. As stated, I'd like to start with some statistics, and I think you'll find some of these pretty interesting. When we look at right now the overall inventory, when I'm talking right now about inventory or any kind of stats, this goes for the entire MLS. It's not just one particular area. So when we look at the number of properties that are in inventory as of the end of March 2022, we show 11,000, just over 11,000 properties. To give you a little comparison, in March of 2018, that number was 25,821. So you can see how dramatically that has changed. But one of the things that doesn't get mentioned, and I think this is a very important point. In March, there were 6,431 properties that were listed in March and went pending in March. So what does that mean? Well, that means on the last day of March, when we take a snapshot of what does our inventory look like right now, those properties are never counted in the inventory. Because what happens is on March 31st, we say, okay, give us a picture. How many properties are active? Here's your active inventory. Well, those properties, they came in as a new listing, they went pending in the same month, they never got counted in inventory. So if you look at that 11,000 number of what the inventory is, and you add in that 6,400, even though they weren't active at the end of the month, they were in the month, then you see it's still considerably lower than it's been, but not quite as bad. Now, this is a number we started tracking because it has been consistent every month that number, the number of listings that come in for sale and are pending all in the same month gets higher and higher. It represents 51% of the new listings we got in March, went pending in March, and it's 63% of the pendings were properties that were listed in March. That's huge. That tells you how quickly things are selling. Another example of that is when you look at the average days on market. The average days on market in March of 2022 was 31. Last year it was 38. Not a lot of difference, but still those 8 days make a huge difference. So we're seeing that the market, as you know better than we ever could, that it's moving very quickly. And another thing to point out, the number of showings per property, and I'm always intrigued by that number as well. It shows it decreased from 19 to 17. So last year there were 19 showings per property. This year there's 17. So looks like the sellers are accepting offers quicker, a little bit quicker than they were, and they don't have as many showings. So I know you know how active this market is, and our job is to try to keep up with you and provide you with the tools that you need to operate in a market that looks like this. The other thing that we want to talk about are these changes that came through from NAR. You probably saw a video that we put out with our weekly email blast that we send to all of you that talks a little bit about these rules. But I want to give you some background on the main change so you understand where it's coming from. The number one change says that on Realcomp's public search site, we have a search site that is called moveinmichigan.com. So on moveinmichigan.com, and then any of the big vendor sites, for them, this is optional. For us, it's not. We now have to publish the amount of compensation that will be paid on the selling side of the transaction. Up until this point, NAR's rule said you may not, under any circumstances, publish the selling compensation to consumers, to the public. And here's what happened. Somewhere along the way, somebody got wind of that rule and said, we think that realtors may not be showing all the properties that they have available to them because that commission may not be as much as they would like it to be. So we think they're picking and choosing the properties they're showing, and maybe they're not really living up to that fiduciary responsibility that they have. So we think we should sue them. We should sue the realtors. We should sue NAR for having that rule. Now, one of the things that sadly I've learned in my position is the number of people it takes to establish a class action suit is one. It only takes one. So somewhere along the way, some attorneys got together with some buyers. They decided to stick their toe in the water and see if this would actually take off. And it did. They got their class established. So that means that there's this tremendous lawsuit against NAR that says buyers out there were not given the information that they maybe could have used to buy their home because the realtor felt they weren't being paid enough. And we, the buyer, don't know that because that information doesn't get published to us. We don't get to see how much my agent makes representing me as a buyer agent. And so that lawsuit is underway right now. So NAR, in an effort to, let me just back up. If you look at the what this could mean, I mean, we're talking billions of dollars if this were to go anywhere. So NAR said, okay, let's make some changes to our rules to show that we're willing to, move forward and do things differently than we've ever done it. So they said, if it's a public site, we have to include the amount of compensation that the selling side is entitled to. And for IDX vendors, it's optional. So if you have an IDX site, your vendor maybe has already come to you and said, would you like us to publish this or not? So it was made optional for them to publish it. But we had to put it in the feed, and we had to make sure that it was available to them if those vendors chose to publish it, or if working with you, they chose to publish it. We have to publish it on our site, and we have to publish it. I think you can see it in your auto emails that go out to your consumers. And then it'll be up to you to explain what that means, because some of the compensation amounts that come in from our data share partners can get very confusing. I know Ann Arbor has, they have these codes and so forth. Well, we had to publish what all of that means and put a link to that from Move in Michigan, so that if a consumer coming in said, oh, here's what my agent would make, but I don't know what that means, they can click on that link and it'll take them to a FTC, working with the FTC and the DOJ to try to come up with a settlement before this goes any further. And so we keep, we publish as much information about it as we can, but you can get details about that stuff through NAR. So that's the number one rule that changed, and that's why that rule changed. I never like to just say, well, this is how it's going to look now, without giving you the why, because the why helps you understand why. Why did we make that change? Another change that was required from us, currently, or up until this point, listings could come in showing an address that read undisclosed. Maybe you have a renter in that property, and the owner of the property says, I don't want anybody to know that I don't want them to know the house is on the market, so I don't want to put the address. And NAR said, yeah, you can't do that anymore. Now you have to have an address. If it's, let's say it's new construction and there is no address, you have to at least have a legal description or a property ID number. You can no longer not include that information. The exception to that is commercial properties. We went back to NAR and said, do we have to have the same rule for commercial properties? Because sometimes it's a business for sale, and maybe the people that are in there right now don't know that the business is for sale. And so they changed that rule to say it doesn't have to apply to commercial properties. That would be at the option of the MLS or the board. And our Board of Governors said, let's leave it the way it is now for commercial properties, and they don't have to have an address. They can still show undisclosed. So that's the only difference on that one. There was a lot of changes to how we had to provide data feeds. And luckily for us, we were already doing that. Like, we have to be able to provide you with one feed that has all the information you want, so you can do with it what you choose, like a back office feed. You know, there are restrictions on what can be done with that data, and we spell all of that out in the agreement. But it was nice when they came up with that policy change, and we said we don't even have to consider that. We already do things that way, so that's not something we have to change. Another thing is, in going back to that rule about commissions and so forth, we had to, and we did this in one way and then we put it back, and you'll remember this. We had to make sure you could not search listings based on commission amount, selling commission amount, sub-agent, buyer agent, or transaction coordinator. What happened was, there are maybe some agents that have a very very strict way of how they do business, and you know by looking at that agent what their commission amounts are. You can tell I'm trying to be very politically correct here with this stuff. So for a minute there, we took away your ability to search by agent, and oh my goodness, that was not a good thing to do. Many people complained about that. So we went back to NAR, and they said, just if we took away the ability for you to search by the actual compensation amount, then that would put us in compliance with that rule. So it was funny to us because we didn't have it in such a way that you could search and get all the listings. You know, it's a free form field. You could put anything from a carrot to a potato in there, and you'd have to just search on every different kind of version of that. But we did take that off of your search fields, so you can no longer search for the compensation that's being offered to sub-agent, buyer agent, or transaction coordinator. And that fit us in with the rule. We could put back, you can now go back to searching on an individual agent and see their listings and their sales and so forth. Lastly, one of the things that they changed is to say that you have to make sure as realtors that you do not advertise your services as being free. That the way they have worded it, you must not represent that your services to a client or a customer are free or available at no cost, unless you will receive no compensation from any source for those services. So if you're being paid by the seller or in this case, the listing agent, you cannot say your services are free because your buyer's not paying you. And that was just something I think they needed to clear up. I've never heard of agents that say, no, Mr. Buyer, you or Mrs. Buyer, my services are free to you. You don't have to pay me anything. Well, maybe they don't have to pay you anything, but you are being paid. So NAR said you can no longer say that you are working for free, which I doubt that you were saying that anyway. But just to clear that up. So those are the biggest rules. Yes.
So I think one that will come up, and I believe I've heard this already and know the answer, but what about the old free CMA? Would that be something that would be allowable?
If you're not
as part of
if you're not being paid, if you're not collecting any compensation, then yes, that's the key. If you're not receiving compensation from anywhere around it, I think Darwin, I think it was mainly as a buyer agent, if you told your buyer that you were working for them for free when really you were being paid on the listing side. I think that's what NAR was trying to correct.
So a question came up here is that we basically do need to be careful, but to state that, you know, all things working out, I'll receive my compensation from a listing broker. In our case, it would only be out of their pocket would be the broker compliance fee. So that would be an accurate statement. We didn't say we got it for free.
Right.
We simply stated we're going to collect from either the seller or the listing broker.
And that's key. That's key. And I am confident that the majority, overwhelming majority of our customers handle it that way. But somewhere along the way, you know how that is, somewhere, somebody said, yeah, I work for you for free. And it caused some concern. So NAR felt that they really needed to just clean that up and make sure that you knew that that wasn't the way you should present your role.
Okay, all right. Matter of fact, there's Shelley, why don't you come on, clarify your question, or you can ask that directly of Karen.
Well, so the CMA, if we said we're giving them a free CMA and there's nothing tied to it, but let's say they decide to list with you and it ends up being a sale, is that considered you're advertising not for free then, right? You can't use that word then.
No, because that's a different service. Those are different services, Shelley.
Okay.
You're offering a free CMA because maybe they're not going to list with you. But the services that you're going to, when they list with you, those services are spelled out and they know what they're paying you. And that's two different things.
Okay.
That would not be an issue.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And Cheryl, did you want to clarify what you're asking here with the commission fields?
Yeah, I was looking at, are we going to eliminate the commission fields on the profile sheet since we can no longer search by that anyway?
No, we wouldn't eliminate it because we need to publish it. So we need that data. We need you to fill in that data because we need to now include that on our public site and then in the data feed that goes to IDX or VOW vendors if they choose to add that to the display on their listings. So we would not eliminate it. You still need to add it. You just can't search. You as an agent can't go in and say, show me all properties that are offering this. You wouldn't be able to do that.
Okay, great, thanks.
And I think that is the answers to the questions so far. So whatever you may have next.
Well, I don't really have anything next. You can ask me any questions you want that doesn't necessarily have to be about what we talked about. If you have other questions, I'm ready to answer anything.
So Q&A time, guys. Lots of things going on in our MLS. And Karen's put on her heavy duty armor. So if you had something, please take yourself off mute and address that question. John, do you want to come on and just hit that directly with Karen? Or here's what we've got. Remine has been utterly unresponsive to the issues we have surfaced in Docs Plus. Remine was purchased, the MLS Holdings LLC appointed a new CEO. We are hopeful that there will be improvements. Go ahead, Scott. You can see it better than I can.
But he needs to understand it has been a problem. As his customer, can you please intercede on behalf? Can't see the rest
Of the rest of us.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Karen? Or can
Yeah, I
you
have
see
some of
that?
it, and John and I we have communicated through some emails. So
Good.
I've seen some of John's emails.
Awesome.
First of all, when you have an issue with Remine or Docs Plus and it isn't working the way that you need it to work at that moment, do not reach out to Remine. We are the support for that. Call us. And I know that there are times, and there were times a lot last year, where you might have to wait on hold. We went through the same that same episode as so many other businesses did, where we had, and it's the first time in my career that has happened, where we had employees leave, because you had people out there offering all kinds of great things to sign up with them, to work with them, and we suffered the same thing and had to cut back our hours and did not give you the service that we had come to be able to give you. We are almost fully staffed again. And so that's number one. You need to call us, not Remind, and let us respond. Number two, and this will be where it's not real, not your favorite thing, but it's not going to work just like Transaction Desk did. It wasn't designed to work just like Transaction Desk, but we can show you how to do what you did on Transaction Desk, but it's going to be through some different steps. The best advice I can give you is you've got to come in for training, or let us come to you and offer training. And Darwin knows that, because he handles that through North Oakland, and I'm so grateful for that. It makes all the difference in the world. We were just talking this morning about when we first installed Transaction Desk, which was 14 years ago. So you used it for a long time. But when we first installed it, uploading your documents and so forth wasn't mandatory. So it had very little use. And then when those documents became mandatory, what you're going through right now is exactly what happened then. It took probably 2 years to get people comfortable and up to speed using it. I don't want to wait. I don't want you to wait 2 years. But then we had to make a change for a lot of reasons, which I can go into or not. That's up to all of you. But we had to make a change. And we are working with them to make enhancements. Every time you come to us and say, wouldn't it be nice if it did this? If we can't show you how it will do that, then we do go to them and say, how about looking at this as an enhancement? The one thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
The one thing that
I was going to say, I found you to be very responsive, Karen, but there's things that just take longer.
Yeah.
And that's just where we've got to be patient. And as I put it, this was a switch over to where it's, as Floyd Whitman taught, life's a dance. It's 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. And typically when you're going to move forward, the 2 steps back come first. And that's what this was in making this change. But I'll tell you, for those who haven't made the adjustment, if you're available to use, because it's not available to all of us, but this program is superior and does everything that Transaction Desk did. You just got to know how to use it. And so look, take advantage of what training is available through Realcomp, and know that, yes, I am available. Bob DeVore is available to come out and show us how to work it if we're not 100% on board with it.
You know, the people that come in here and spend some time with us, because our training room is open again, and Janine and Tora are training every day. And the people who come in and spend that hour and a half, 2 hours going through it, because they'll stay with you as long as you want, you'll hear the ahas. It's going to be different than what you had, but that doesn't mean it's broken. It just means it's different. And when people say to me, well, you know, you need to fix it. Well, it isn't broken. It's just different. And I really want the opportunity to show you that, as Darwin just said. And somebody just posted a question about slicing and dicing a document like you could on Transaction Desk. You can do that. You just have to turn it into a PDF first, and then you can do that. So that's one of those tools that we can certainly walk you through. Plus, we have tip sheets for every piece of this you could possibly imagine. So if you go onto our corporate site, realcomp.com, and go under Docs Plus, there's a tip sheet for uploading documents, for sending out for signatures, for slicing and dicing a PDF, or whatever you need. There are individual tip sheets, and it kind of walks you through step by step by step by step. So I know we knew going into this change that it was going to be probably one of the hardest changes we have ever made. We knew that. 14 years on the other program. That's a long time. That is a long time. And we knew going in that it was going to be difficult. And, you know, there's another one coming, not this, but there's the new ad edit that's coming, that's going to tie in with Docs Plus, and it's going to help you recognize all of the how all of that's going to fit together. I'm sorry, I was sidetracked by John's question there about the bugs, but I think, John, we have responded to your questions about the bugs, not the one that put you in a state that was not Michigan. That was truly ridiculous. And I believe that we had that fixed, but I believe that we have addressed the other questions that you have. If you still are experiencing that, I would love for you to send it to me and let us go through and address each one of them individually again. I'd like that opportunity. I mean,
So Karen, can we shift gears a little bit?
Absolutely.
And I love the aspect.
4 nuggets with honey mustard and 3 cookies,
Fun.
please.
All right. I'm like, that's a weird question.
Yes.
The primary versus master, that's, I believe it's been changed on the listings in the MLS, how it's displayed. Will we be updating the profile form, I think is what the question is.
Yes, the profile forms, all of those profile forms will be new when the new ad edit comes out, and that will be changed. It will no longer say master, they'll say primary. There's a couple other changes that we were required to make. You're going to see in the new ad edit, there's a lot of new fields, and that's because there's this organization called RESO, which is Real Estate Standards Organization. Their job is to try to standardize all real estate fields and language and so forth for the whole country. Good luck with that. So there's some things that pop up that you think, why does our form now say I need, I don't know, you know, something strange that we would never have around here. But some of those fields we had to add in order to stay compliant with those standards and that organization. So you're going to see a lot of new fields, and some of them you'll just go right past, and some of them you'll think, oh, that's nice that we never had that before, and they'll start showing up on the listings.
Do we have a new goal? I know they're goals, and obviously we don't always hit them, but do we have a new date that we're shooting for?
Not that I can share at this moment, but
I can appreciate that.
I am anticipating it will be in May.
Okay. All right.
And
Let's
you
see
know,
if
we have strung you along for so long. Oh my goodness, you don't even know how much it bugs me, which is why I don't want to give you a date, because I don't want to do it again. I don't want to miss another date. I get so disappointed when that happens. So until we see everything up and running, which we're so close to doing, and then we can set that date, we'll give you all plenty of notice. Because because add it, I mean, you won't be able to add a listing. It'll be like Saturday and Sunday, one Saturday and Sunday. The system will be available, but you won't be able to add or change any listings while we make that changeover. Millions of records, you can imagine, millions of records and photos that have to be transformed over. So, yeah.
Okay, how about the, I know
Great
you're
time.
looking at the chat room. How about
Yeah.
that one with the new construction in the sunroom?
Oh, I didn't
Quick
see that.
answer for that one.
I did not see that one.
I am listing a home that was new construction about 1.5 years ago. One of the rooms that was listed was a sunroom, but sunroom is not offered now as an option to check off. Is there a change? Is there a reason that dropped off?
I will have to research that and let you know. Okay, I never like giving
right.
answers I'm not sure of. So I'm gonna email you, Darwin, and communicate that to
Okay.
you if that's okay.
That'll work.
Okay.
Absolutely. I'll just got to remember who that was that asked that. Let's see. Can't get country to agree that soda is. Valerie, I love that. Or go somewhere and ask for a Coke and they say, what flavor would you like? Well, let's see. Well, it's 12:31, guys. So I always try to stick to our rules that we've got 30 minutes. Karen has offered to come on at any time to talk, share, ask questions. So Karen, awesome session, awesome information. You've been wonderful, and we believe you do a great job leading the Realcomp MLS.
Thank you. Thank you. And thanks for this
Thank you.
opportunity. It means a great deal.
Absolutely.
We're here for you.
All right, everybody. Well, hey, that wraps up another Hot Topic Tuesday. Hope you got full enjoyment from it. We wave, give applause. Thank you again, Karen. Everybody have a great day.
Bye,
We'll talk to you
everyone.
soon.